ChangeDaChannel, and this is Debunk This. Now I want to start off with an announcement. Tomorrow night, Sunday, or tonight if you're watching it on Sunday, to check out, I'm going to put a link over here to check out Spy Witness News Live TV. This week's special guest is going to be Grease Rig. He's a journalist. He's been to Iraq, all over the Middle East, as well as being an engineer who has worked on classified government projects. So come out. Like I said, I put the link over here. Come out and check it out. It's going to be at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Got a chat room. You can ask questions. You can actually co-host the show in the second hour. So check it out. And for my new subscribers out there, Debunk This is a show for debunkers to do their thing. I mean, so many people find it hard to believe that we're being poisoned, tested on, their plans are documented to control and contain us, as well as kill us by the powers that be. That indeed conspiracies exist, and that anyone who speaks of this is just a nut job. This show isn't about why they do what they do. It's about the fact that it has been done, is being done. This won't be a show covering hours worth of evidence. We will focus on an element or two, keep it real simple and to the point. Now, all the links to all the documents are provided in the video description over there. You can check them out. It is my hope that some of these can be debunked, even though I doubt it, so that knowledge and truth can be refined. I also hope that if you can't debunk this, that people start to wake up to the reality of what's happened in the past and continues to go on today, so that the future doesn't consist of this cycle of destruction that kills us in the world we live in. And let's roll. The date is today, 2009. And there are reports all over the internet, as well as videos showing what some claim to be some of the 800 plus FEMA camps inside the United States. They report that they are all staffed and even surrounded by full-time guards, but they're all empty. These camps are operated by FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, should martial law need to be implemented in the United States. Now, there's many sites out there and people who claim that this is absurd and just more TM4 hat conspiracy theory mumbo jumbo. Even Glenn Beck hopped on the bandwagon on March 26, 2009, where he announced on his Fox Network show that he called Jim Meigs from Popular Mechanics 3 weeks prior to the show, and to have him look into the issue of FEMA camps. Beck then attacked the credibility of the internet by turning to Meigs, who states that Popular Mechanics had assigned one of their reporters to the issue. Yeah, Popular Mechanics, man. Despite admitting that they hadn't deeply researched the issue, Meigs makes it clear they have already decided that this isn't true. Well, Mr. Beck and Meigs of Popular Mechanics, I'm just not going to take your word for it. I think we'll look it up for ourselves. Let's start with a little history. February 19th, 1942, President Franklin Roosevelt authorized Executive Order 9066, which is for the internment of Japanese Americans, which refers to the forcible relocation and internment of approximately 110,000 Japanese Americans to housing facilities called war relocation camps. Now, since then, there has been over 100 executive orders signed and legislation passed to strengthen the government's option to do this on an even broader scale, under the guise of national security, national emergencies, immigration, and civil disobedience when they feel is necessary. Now, excuse me. Now, this is just the authorization for such actions. Now, let's examine how they are prepared to carry out these actions. The date is April 5th through the 13th, 1984. REX-84, short for Readiness Exercise 1984, is a plan by the United States federal government to test their ability to detain a large number of American citizens in case of civil unrest or national emergency. Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North and the FEMA agency have drafted a contingency plan providing for the suspension of the Constitution, the imposition of martial law, and the appointment of military commanders to head state and local governments, and to detain dissidents and Central American refugees in the event of a national crisis. There has been other master military contingency plans. Garden Plot is one of them, which is the United States Civil Disobedience Plan 52-2, and a similar earlier exercise titled Lantern Spiker. Now let's take a look at the restructure of command organizations and modern actual implementations of these types of places that we call FEMA camps. November 25th, 2002, Homeland Security Act of 2002 was passed, giving birth to the United States Department of Homeland Security. It was intended to consolidate U.S. executive branch organizations related to Homeland Security into a single cabinet agency. There are 22 agencies that were incorporated into the new department, including the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, and the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which is ICE. Now, January 24, 2006. KBR, the engineering and construction subsidiary of Halliburton, has been awarded an indefinite delivery / indefinite quantity, IDIQ as they call it, contract from the Department of Homeland Security for construction of detention centers for emergency influx of immigrants into the U.S. or to support a rapid development of new programs, national emergencies such as national disaster, etc. And they're pretty proud of their work, says their executive VP, Bruce Stansky. We are especially gratified to be awarded this contract because it builds our extremely strong track record in the arena of emergency operations support. We look forward to continuing good work we have been doing to support our customer whenever and wherever we're needed. Now, I'll also make a note here that on KBR's news release on their website, they also state that they had the prior contract, which was from 2000 to 2005. Now let's move forward to this past January 22nd, 2009. National Emergency Establishment Act introduced to the House. H.R. 645 was introduced to the 111th Congress in its first session to direct the Secretary of Homeland Security to establish national emergency centers on military installations. Section 2, Establishment of the National Emergency Centers. A. In general, in accordance with the requirements of this Act, the Secretary of Homeland Security shall establish not fewer than 6 national emergency centers on military installations. B. Purpose of the National Emergency Centers. The purpose of the National Emergency Centers shall use existing infrastructure. 1. To provide temporary housing, medical, and humanitarian assistance to individuals and families dislocated due to an emergency or major disaster. 2. To provide centralized locations for the purposes of training and ensuring the coordination of federal, state, and local first responders. Number 3, to provide organizational locations to improve the coordination of preparedness, response, and recovery efforts of government, private, and not-for-profit entities, as well as faith-based organizations. You'll have to check out some of them videos on that, talking to some reverends and stuff now. Before I go on to the last part of this document, this legislation that was put in, they've already been doing this anyway. They've already been doing this. I'll put some video links over there. They've been doing this. I don't know what they're doing with this anyhow. But anyway, number 4, to meet other appropriate needs as determined by the Secretary of Homeland Security. And you notice they always put these types of things in. To meet other appropriate needs as determined by blah, 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 blah. With all that said, is that so hard to believe? Are you debunkers and doofers so hard-headed that you can't accept the facts when they're staring you right in the face to the right of the screen? All you need to do is click the links. And then look at all the videos people have posted showing these places. But perhaps they're in all FEMA camps or whatever you or they would like to call them. But by the evidence presented here, they do exist, which would substantiate that some of these videos are actual camps. At bare minimum, you would at least have to admit that they exist to help us during a national emergency. Of course, you would have to disregard all the legislation that has been passed to give them the powers to use these places for much different purposes. But I'm not here to talk about why. I'm here to provide evidence of if. And that has been provided here at Debunk That. I'm ChangeDaChannel. This has been Debunk This. And catch me next week when we will tackle another issue that you debunkers are going to try to debunk, but you're not going to be able to do it. I'll catch you tomorrow night, Sunday, on Spy Witness News TV. I'm ChangeDaChannel, and I'm out.